Oh, you would bonk me. You would bonk me the second I wake up. Good morning. How is everybody? Mm-hmm. So yeah, there's nothing in that box over there. Don't worry about that, okay? Nothing in the box. Nothing at all. I mean, why would there be anything in the box? There's nothing there. Nothing in the cage. Mm-mm-mm-mm-mm. That's proven by the Redeem. No, they did nothing. There's nothing there. Nothing was redeemed, so there's nothing over there now. Good morning, good morning, good morning. How is everybody doing today? Oh, there are so many stickers. Let's shrink them down a little bit so we can get them a little bit nicer there. Mm-hmm. How is everybody doing? How is everybody doing? I need to make sure it was Silver Vang that redeemed it, right? Let me double check here. It is so hard to see anything except stream check-ins right now. There it is. Yes, it was. Good. Nothing has been redeemed. Because nothing was redeemed. Nothing has been redeemed, and so now there's nothing in the cage. Yes. You know. Nothing stabbed the Cyclops. No one stabbed the Cyclops. Nothing is in the cage. Well, go clean your room. Do it. Clean your room right now. Chat, if you haven't cleaned anything for a while and you want to clean something while watching me, feel free to do so. I'm eating rice porridge. It's very tasty and warm. How is everyone doing, though? I will be focusing on you all today. You're hungry. Well, get some food. Hi, Pinky. Hi, Vanya. Hello, everything. Zen Moon, it's nothing. Here, I'm gonna pin this. The nothing redeem is nothing. Nothing happened. There's nothing in the cage now. There you go. Not today. I had to sleep over, Vanya. I will have some time for later, but not right now. But yes. Zen Moon, you can't. It's already been redeemed. Nothing has been redeemed, as I've said. All right, let me go through all of the first check-ins. Okay, here, let me write this. Nothing has been redeemed, and nothing has happened. There you go. That should explain it, right? Everybody understand that? Good. All right. You don't understand? Okay. Listen. Nothing has been redeemed, and then the nothing has happened. We are on the same page, right? We got it? We good? We sure? Everybody understand? Had to make sure. I have to make sure we're all on the same page. Good. Good. One second. One sec. Okay, anyway, so. First, I suppose I have to do this one. I have to go back in the British for some reason. And then we're going to do this. I'm going to go to England and tie you up exactly 2 streams and leave. You're going to go to England? For me? Why would you go to England for me? I don't live in England. I don't know how you'd find me. Oh, you mean... Hello, come here, behave yourself. Both of you two, behave yourselves. You two are mods. You need to set the example. Don't you be talking about tying each other up here. Why does every accent that I do always want to become southern so quickly? Anyway, so, we have this. You ready? I'm going to be reading off all the check-ins. Give me a second. Good morning, Addy. Thank you for checking in. Good morning, Addy. Thank you for getting second. And Silvervang, thank you for getting first. Alex, thank you for the check-in. Hello, hello. Good morning. Good morning, Siggy. Thank you for getting third. Imana, thank you for checking in. Silvervang. Stream check-in. Moss the Possum, thank you for checking in. Thank you for checking in, Carmia. Good morning. Good morning, Settings. Good morning, Olivia. Good morning, Imana. I swear I just said your name already. Oh, you got third. That's correct. All right. So, good morning, Neffy and Gem Fox and Tasha. Good morning, the Real Rabbit Wolf and Pinky and Tired Nap Time. Good morning, Ruby Ship Mao and SKZ Fan. Good morning, Lachlan and Zimmy Boo. Good morning, Amy and Ava. Good morning, Pixie and Kendra. Good morning, Evie and Julia. Good morning, Kayla and Delissima and Admali. Good morning, VIPs and good morning, Ocean. Good morning, Meow Kitty Cat. Good morning, Moo Mia. Good morning, Discorded Fox. Good morning, Pretty Lean. Good morning, Humini and Kitty Goth. Good morning, Casey Attack. Good morning, Amelia. Good morning, Call Me Mutt. Good morning, Nimbus and Oliver the Twist. Good morning, Glitcher the Ditch and Shanks. Good morning, Eli and Red Faye and Aria and Inrando. Good morning, Star Noxtus and Sakona and Gabe's Biggest Simp. Thank you for redeeming nothing, Silvervang. Very well done. Good morning, Gibbets. Good morning, Just a Random. Good morning, Just a Random. Thank you so much for the follow and welcome to the menagerie. Good morning, Misty. Thank you for the check-in. Good morning, Random Opossum and Rainy Day Tay and Kira. Good morning, Dara. Good morning, Tori. Thank you for the follow, Crystal. Good morning, Kira. Good morning, Little Mouse. Good morning, Zen Moon. Where are we? There it is. Good morning, Red Faye and May Huerta. Good morning, Unstable Raccoon. Good morning, Leluku? Leluku. I might struggle with your name a bit, but I will try my hardest. Good morning, Yumi. Yumi Mikachu. Like a Pikachu. Interesting. Where's who? I'm not here. Good morning, Asha. Good morning, V's Vlogs. Good morning, Apple Blossom. Good morning, Sakuna. Good morning, Pringlicious. Ooh, thank you so much for the Redeem Red Faye. Good morning, Nate the Emo and Echo Infernal. Good morning, Sweet Little Hawk. Good morning, Nate the Emo again. Oh, I'm such a good doggy. There will not be a later stream. I will be doing a voice acting thing that I need to do, so I will not be here. Good morning, Marixel. Good morning, Galactica, which I was talking about yesterday, but I don't think many people heard. Good morning, She Protect. Good morning, Luna Rain. Good morning, Star Blossom. Good morning, Pebbles. And good morning, Rika Nebula. There we go. Well, what was I doing? My brain just has completely shut off now. Right. So, I have no plan for today. I know I should have a plan, but you know what? I've decided just to be here. Just to be in this moment and talk to you all and hang out for a little while. I don't get to be here long. I have holiday baking. Are all of you just coming in to just check in? Is that what it is? Is that everybody's just here to check in? I understand. I get it. Y'all just want the check-in. You don't want me. It's fine. It's fine. It's fine. No, it's okay. It's okay. I'll just sit here in silence and stare at myself on the screen. We like to seeing how you are? Well, what if I'm not? What if I'm not? What if I'm not here? Which I'm not here right now. Not here. So what are you going to do now, Carmia, now that I'm not here? Explain that to me. I knew it, Sadie. You had these plans dedicated annually. Wow, you didn't cancel. Look, you didn't cancel your annually planned plans, the ones that you had planned an entire year in advance before you even knew me. You didn't cancel them for me? How could you? How could you? You had to watch to my tattoo appointment. And you're not going to watch me during your tattoo appointment? Are you ashamed of me? Do you not want your tattoo artist to know that you're watching Anime Dog Boys online? Is that what it is? I knew it. I knew it. Look, see, Rando's worth it. Good. I'm proud of you, Rando. Thank you for staying. How could you? How could you have a life outside of me? That's insane. Yeah, I don't have a life outside of streaming. Why do you not have a life outside of streaming? Bro, you can get pretty unhinged. I would never do anything unhinged. I've never once done anything unhinged in my entire life. What do you mean unhinged? Tell me what's unhinged about me. Right now, I'm ready. Exactly. Put me on speaker. Not only that, you bring them a TV. If they have a TV, okay, and it's one of those that you can connect your phone to, you connect that TV to your phone and you project me in front of everybody in the tattoo parlor. And that way, whenever they're doing stuff and they're getting really fine line work, I can go boo, and we can see if I can scare them and mess up your. I mean, I would never want to mess up your tattoo. That would be awful. Who would ever do that? You need a reason to procrastinate work? Canceling stream. I'm canceling stream. I'm not allowing you to use me for procrastination methods. How dare you, Oliver? I'm a very bad doggy. Happy? Happy? Why are you leaving, Possum? Little Eli Possum? No. Not allowed. Stop having lives. I set up this whole situation. You know, I was even gonna have a cute scene. We were gonna be in the bedroom today. Okay? See, look how cozy this is. I made it extra special for you. And you're like, no, Gene, I'm sorry. My life is more important than you are. I have things that are more important to do than you. Really? This is insane. Look, I only changed the time of my stream because I had to sleep. And I only didn't tell anybody what time it was actually going to be at. And all of you are here telling me that you have life that... Queso wouldn't have to do with this. Queso never has to deal with this. Really, Keeper? Really? Yeah. There you go. Get a voidling tattoo. Get a voidling tattoo. If I decide not to go with the voidling and the design ever changes, you'll have a tattoo that's no longer canon. You should do it. It's an awful idea. Do it. A night cross country to Galveston. Is that cross country? That feels like it's still in Texas. Good. Getting a Gene tattoo? Do not get a Gene tattoo. I do not. Sheep Protect is such a cute name. Thank you for the hydrate. Red and black heart will never change. They'll always be my Oshi marks. So that is valid. Texas is cross country. The entirety of Texas is cross country. Cross country is a minimum of 50 NM nautical miles. We're not. Whoa. Hey. What do you mean nautical miles? Why are planes using nautical miles? Nautical is the ocean. Planes don't fly on the ocean. Explain to me. Explain to me right now. Why? Aeronautical? What does that mean? There is no water in air. You can't take the water and put it in the air. Then it's rain when we don't fly it. What? Wrong. This feels wrong. I hate this. Clouds is air water? But you don't fly in the clouds. You fly in the air. No ordering tattoo machines. You're not allowed to do your own tattoos. The sky is blue because it's water. Trust. I'm angry. Why don't we have air miles, huh? Aero miles? AMs? No, the sky is actually blue. Well, I guess it's kind of because of water. Well, no, it's the something effect where it's like the light is reflecting in a certain way that causes that only the blue to be reflected. So that's why sky blue. And then the water is blue because of the sky, not the other way around. Moisture's in the air, hence it's water, just thin water. Moisture's everywhere. You can ride an airplane on my skin. I still wouldn't use nautical miles to describe crossing across my body, huh? You can't ride a plane through me. There we go. There we go. Karamia. I'm so upset. If you smell colors and see sounds and color air about how many apples can fit in a planet. Google knows. Google, how many apples can fit in our planet? $1.46 septillion apples. There you go. 1.46 septillion apples could fit in the earth. That's a lot of apples. I saw that, Pink. I saw that, Pink. No, don't you come in here spouting memes before saying hi. The first thing you go is come in here, you go, 6'7". You know what? I'm going to get a 6'7" dedicated button, and I'll never use it. I will just want you all to know that a 6'7" button exists, and then all I have to do is hit 6'7", it goes, 6'7". But I'll never use it. Have fun, Sheep Protect. Have fun. Mwah. 8'9". I'll take pictures of the button. No, Pink. I cannot say that. You're going to get refunded. You know what? No. I'm taking it. Those points are mine now. You don't get them anymore. I'm keeping them. I'm putting them on a shelf. And so I'm putting it on the shelf that nobody gets to use it. And it's just going to be like, hello, here's the thing. That Pink, mine. Never saying it again. I will never say it again. I swear to you. Brain rot is skib. Pinky. Pink is a stinky bad dog. They ain't a dog, though. Pink ain't a dog. Pink ain't a dog. Pink was a dog, but now is a rat. A cute little rat. A data rat. Digital rat. They all do wah, 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 wah things. Not a dog. Was a dog. Ain't anymore. Oh. 12:13. Amazing. Did I take my pills? No, I just woke up. What am I consuming? I made a large bowl of rice porridge. It is my secret to being healthy. You make this massive. A femboy tattoo? A tattoo femboys wear? Or a tattoo of a femboy? Eli, you better come back with snacks. You better come back with snacks, all right? Anyways, you told me about that. What did I tell you about? No, Pink, I cannot say it. Refund them. That's fine. Rice porridge. Oh, yeah, rice porridge is delicious. So I make rice porridge because rice is a very, 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 very interesting thing. You put enough water in it, and it slowly turns into a porridge. I mean, you end up with these massive amount of foods. Do I like femboys? I like everybody. I like everybody. Don't matter the gender, don't matter the gender identity, do not matter the sex or whatever. If they're hot, they're hot. You know? Name of the hydrate. Kanji? Yeah, basically. I mean, a very bastardized version. And I love it. So it's like, it's 1 part rice, 8 parts water. Then whatever proteins you want, you throw in there. And you throw in whatever veggies. So I have a lot of fresh veggies and stuff. And it's very good for you, very healthy. Oh. And the reason it works for me is because it's such a massive amount of food that, like, I actually feel physically full, which is nice. Instead of, making these tiny meals where, like, oh yeah, chicken breast and normally cooked rice. I just really like eating. I like the way food feels in my mouth. More so than I care about what I'm eating. Well, I love the taste, but you know. Chat, I think Gene Secret loves... No. Why do you want me to rant about this? Why do you want me to talk about Big Macs so badly? Clearly, there must be something going on that you're like, you know what? Clearly Gene hasn't told everybody how much he hates Big Macs. Aria, why are you doing this? Why are you cutting your hair? No, we're focusing on you right now, Aria. Why are you cutting your hair? This is not a split decision, is it? You're not dealing with a breakup or anything? Are you doing it just because you want to, or because you're like, I feel like I need a change, and hair is very easy to change? What are you getting? Are you getting a cool haircut, or are you just cutting it all off? Are you not going Buzz, are you? Don't waste time with Buzz. Buzz is so stupid. Everyone's like, I'm going to buzz my hair to nothing, and then everything will be different. No! Now you're just a person with a cold head. Well, all right. It's a Big Mac. 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 Awful. Und why is it awful? Too much bread. Too much bread. Too much bread. It is the worst. There's too much bread. Why is there 3 slices of bread? Honestly. Actually, no, I care more about hair right now. Big Mac's not even worth my time. Will draw Gene eating a Big Mac will not stop unless Gene says 6'7". I will never say 6'7". Why would I ever say it? Such a dumb thing. But yes. Hair. Yes, cut your hair. Make it nice. But there's too much bread. No. Wait. Do I care about the hair or the Big Mac right now? The hair or the Big Mac? Eeny, meeny, miny, mo. Get a wolf cut. You should get a wolf cut. They look good on everybody, especially if your hair goes curly. Wolf cut. No, wolf cut it first. Get a wolf cut, and then you can cut it short. Okay, but wolf cut it first. Leave it a week, and then cut it short. Okay, unless you're getting like a pixie cut or something cute. I like short hair, but like not like buzzed. Short hair is very. I mean, honestly, you know what though? I'm a random guy online. I have no right over your hair. You get whatever haircut you want. And I'm sure that whatever you get, if it makes you happy and you enjoy it, that is all that really matters. But also, wolf cut. Get a wolf cut. Or do this thing where you get an undercut along the sides and the back. So that way you can pull it up into a nice little ponytail. It's a super mask haircut, but then you let it down and it's very femme. You can have the whole thing. It's fantastic. Hello, Dixie Wolf. Welcome to the menagerie. My name's LuckyJene. I'm a gambler, a writer, and a soon-to-be villain. But we're still waiting on the paperwork. Currently, y'all, you want to know about how the paperwork's going? Do you want to know about how it's doing? Oh. All right, we're going to take a look at the paperwork. Oh, it's me. Hello, me. Let's see, we're currently at... Ooh, we're very close. We're getting very, very close to we can actually submit the paperwork. We need 2 more days, and I think it's going to be the 20th when I can finally submit the paperwork. But once we hit the 20th, we will have enough support backing us as a potential villain to finally have the chance. You mean you actually fill it out? Well, no, I can't fill it out yet. They haven't even given me the option to submit it. But we're very close to being able to submit the villain paperwork. I just need enough backing and support and people being like, oh yeah, I totally believe this man can be a villain if he tries hard enough. Then we'll do it. Don't tattoo your eye. Do not tattoo your eye. It goes so badly so often. And I see it very, very rarely looking good. No. I might hear back. Well, so yes and no. Yes and no. February... Ooh, thank you so much for the Wadim. Yes. No, but I love the haircut. One of my favorite haircuts I've ever had on a partner was when they had the sides shaved and they had the back shaved, but then they had the long hair on top and they pulled it back into a ponytail. I was all like, wow. I feel like I'm the least masculine one in this relationship, and that's very nice. And then they dropped it. I'm like, wow, you look so pretty and femme right now. It's just gorgeous. It's really good. I'm amazing at cooking. Just don't eat what I'm eating right now, because what I'm eating right now is really, really boring. Oh, yeah, full undercut. And I'm such a good doggy. There you go. Yeah, no, Gibbets, I am. And like I like it because they would do like makeup that would do like very like accentuate the jaw. So they'd go like this little like half moon circle thingies underneath their jaw where they like really sharpen their face up. And that's like my favorite. So yeah. Or when they'd have their hair long, they would do more of this would more like round, make it more cute, have like freckles and stuff, and it's like gorgeous. 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 Enjoy your eves. And by the way, everybody, thank you for checking in, and thank you for the stream streaks. You know, I really appreciate that. I don't know what I'm gonna do with mine. Right now, mine is like getting longer, but I want it really long so I can like style it nicely. Right now, it's at that awkward stage where it's like almost long enough to pull back into a ponytail, but not long enough. Because you know how curls are. I mean, like, it doesn't matter how long my hair actually is, it's gonna get pulled back. So I'm working on it. And once it is long enough, then I'll have the ponytails. Oh, I'll have to check it out. Thank you, Pink. Thank you. Oh, it's so curly though. It's so curly. I make people jealous of my curls, which just makes me so happy. Hey, chat, you want to see a picture of my curls right now? Kidding. You don't get to see a picture of my curls. Aha! Get janked. Get joinked. Should look pretty. I always look pretty. French comb. French combs. French comb. French comb. French comb. French comb. French comb. French comb. Okay. 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 I don't understand. I don't understand. Someone will have to explain to me. I don't know how it's going to fit through your hair. I feel like it'll just get stuck. How are you going to comb your hair with a French comb? It honestly looks like you're just going to go, and it's not going to move anymore. Right? Am I crazy? How much food do you need to eat? 1,500 calories, roughly. Not saying you should calorie count, but if you're trying to maintain weight and trying to feel healthy, do a minimum of 1,000. Well, depending on your normal body weight, but I'd say 1,500 would be at least a good starting point. That's not healthy, but it's a good start. You don't use them to pin up hair. Why is it a comb then? No, combs go through hair, right? Am I stupid with this? A comb goes through your hair. Why would it stop? No, explain. What? Combs can put hair up to. Why? Isn't that like I don't know, like bobby pins and stuff? Isn't that like a pin? Wouldn't you call it a pin? Combs just have teeth. You know how many teeth are all that I need to be called? Am I a comb? Is my mouth a comb? Do you remember when I first started? I do, Anya. Decorative combs. Okay, no, but like, what does me decorating a comb have to do with it having... What? Okay, something's missing here. Clearly I'm... Oh, I gotta change something real quick. One sec. No, wrong screen. Here I am. Sorry. Okay. What dude? Oh, my bot died. Yay, bot died. Woo! Sorry. Okay, so okay, if it has teeth, it's a comb. So a mouth is a comb, and you said decorative comb. So if we put, so what? Okay. Huh. Okay, so I looked it up, and I got men in combat uniforms. I don't think that's right. Yeah, I don't see how these are going to go through your hair. Well, no, but chickens have combs. That's what you call the thing across the top of their head. Yeah. Chicken do have... Wait, chicken don't have teeth. Chickens have teeth? Chickens have teeth? But they do have combs. That's on the top of their head. So we don't need teeth to have comb. What are you telling me? Nah, I don't get it. It's fine. It's fine. I got it. We'll be fine. Thank you for the follow. Welcome to the menagerie. I'm eating carrots. One second. Okay, so it's the jagged pattern that make it a comb. So, mountains are a comb. Everything is a comb. Am I a comb? Me when I go through somebody's hair. I be combing. I got it. Every comb has teeth, and not everything that has teeth is a comb. I don't believe you. I don't believe you. I think everything with teeth has comb. Yes. Comb. Comb, 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 comb. 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 Do you pronounce the B? I feel like the B is pronounced, but it's not pronounced. Do you know what I mean? It's not comb. It's comb. Like it ends with a B. I refuse, Karamia. This is too much fun. Is a knife a comb? Does a knife have teeth? Knives don't have teeth. Some do. I'm gonna look up a toothed knife. Give me a second. We got this. We got this. Tooth knife. Aha! I found it. Chat, I've discovered a comb. You ready? Let's see if I can save it. No, it doesn't work. We're gonna try it this way. All right, here we go. Thank you for the follow. Welcome to the menagerie. Okay, are we ready? Are you ready for the definitive comb? Nothing else is a comb except this. This is the definitive comb. All right, it's time. There's a comb, chat. This is a comb. Prove me wrong. Prove me wrong. This is a comb. Based on everything we've talked about so far, it has teeth, it has shape. This is a comb. It's a comb. Prove me wrong. How is it not a comb? No, there's multiple teeth. It's a teeth knife. Has teeth. That is a comb. Also, I have one more thing to tell you all. If you do not like the look of dead raw meat, please look away now. Please keep looking away for the next 5 seconds, 10, 30, like 2 minutes. If you do not like the look of plucked raw meat, do not look now. Behold, man. It's man. Featherless biped. And this is a comb. Behold, man. Also, the man had a comb. So, you know, honestly, do you really? No, come on. You know. Do you not know the story? No. Okay. Diogenes. I think it was Plato. They liked to classify things in as simple terms as possible. And so, the definition of man was a bipedal animal originally, I think is what he used. And he's like, okay, well, a chicken. He's like, oh, okay, fine. A featherless bipedal animal. And so it was, oh, a plucked chicken is now a man. And this is a comb. Yeah. It's a comb, though. It has teeth in the proper shape. That's a comb. Am I having fun? No, I hate this. This is the worst. What? No, this is I'm having an awful time, honestly. It's just not this. It depends. Which one do you want to see when you're in bed? Science privilege is revoked. I'm not a scientist. What's this? What is this? Ah, tacos. We're gonna keep those here. Ooh, thank you so much for the redeem. I might wonder what I have. What's this? Ooh, pillows. I'm going to put those over here. What's this? More pillows. You don't get those ones. Your mom says hi? Tell your mom I say hi. Ooh, thank you so much for the redeem. Okay. I need you to teach me something else today. Clearly, I don't know a lot. So you've taught me about combs today. Thank you for that knowledge. I need more teachings. Teach me more things. I now know what a man is. I know what a comb is. But I need more education. I was a starfish. I was a starfish. I was a starfish? Why was I a starfish? Green is a color? Prove it. Prove it to me right now. What is a color? Explain to me what a color is. I need to know what a color is. I'm waiting. Horses walk on their middle finger. Me too. What are colors? Light? Light are colors? No. Light is light, color are colors, right? Explain to me colors. That's the way our eyes perceive light. So I close my eyes, there's no longer colors, is what you're telling me. Got it. Yes, I do, Gibbets. So if I don't see it, there is no color, right? Oh, I like that, Oliver. I love that Katamia. Lunar moths don't have mouths. I did know that. So if my eyes are closed, there are no colors, meaning the world is colorless when my eyes are closed. So I control the ability for color to exist, is what you're telling me. Yes. So color no longer exists when there's nobody around to perceive them. Chat, we have to get rid of everybody, and then we can get rid of all colors. Yes. No more colors if we get rid of everybody, because there's no way to perceive them, and then they can't be perceived, and then there are no colors. I win. We're getting rid of everybody. Chat, get ready. I don't know how we're going to do it, but we're going to figure it out. I control all things. I always know it. Can bugs perceive color? You should ask a bug. Oh no, Onyx, this seems like totally true, but also I can test it, and now I don't want to test it. Wait. I hate knowing this. I hate knowing this. I hate knowing that there is no letter A before 1000. I'm angry now. What is that? Onyx, Ocean, what are you using there? What is that emote? Oh, it just looks like a knife coming at me. Bees can see ultraviolet. What is your favorite Pokemon? Arcanine. Arcanine and Growlithe, but Arcanine specifically. A book to educate me. Okay, I'm gonna read the book. Ocean, this book says how to be more dumb in 30 steps. Thank you for giving me this book. I will learn right now. I'm ready. Step 1, stop reading. Okay, well. Oh yeah, the stream isn't real. I'm not here today. Ba-dum bum bum. Ba-dum bum 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 ba-dum bum bum. Ba-dum bum 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 ba-dum bum bum. And nothing was redeemed. Nothing was redeemed. And I'm not here. So, yeah. Oh, well, thank you for the follow, Flame.
Hear
Welcome.
the sledges with the bells, silver bells. What a world of merriment their melody foretells. How they tinkle, tinkle, tinkle in the icy air of night. All the heavens seem to twinkle with a crystalline delight. Keeping time, time, time with a sort of runic rhyme. From the tintinnabulation that so musically wells. From the bells, 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 bells.
I like this.
Bells, bells, from the
Thank you for the follow. Welcome to the Menagerie. We're listening to music real quick.
Hear the mellow wedding bells, golden bells. What a world of happiness their harmony foretells. Through the balmy air of night, how they ring out their delight. Through the dances and the yells.
I like this. This is nice. Don't you let us at me.
How it swells, how it dwells on the future, how it tells. From the swinging and the ringing of the molten golden bells.
Pink, if it's nothing, nothing's already been redeemed. And nothing happened. Now nothing's in a cage.
Hear the loud alarm bells, brazen bells. What a tale of terror now their turbulent sea tells. Much too horrified to speak, well they can only shriek.
I should learn guitar. Nothing is not on the screen, you're right.
Leaping higher, higher, higher with a desperate desire. In a clamorous appealing to the mercy of the fire. With the bells,
Oh, jellyfish make me mad. Jellyfish make me so mad. We're gonna talk about why jellyfish piss me off.
hear the tolling of the bells, iron bells. What a pals. For all the sound that floats from the rust within our throats.
Oh, jellyfish make me so mad. They are the worst example of immortality.
And the tolling, tolling, tolling peals of glory in the rolling. From the throbbing and
Thank you for the follow.
throbbing
Welcome to the
of the
menagerie.
melancholy bells. Of the bells, 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 bells.
They shouldn't count.
Bells of the moaning and the groaning of the bells. Hear the sledges with the bells, silver bells. What a world of merriment their
Almost there.
foretells. How they tinkle, tinkle, tinkle in the icy air of night.
Well, I'll sneeze at your dog. No, I can't sneeze right now.
Keeping time, time, time with a sort of rooted rhyme. From the
Sea turtles also get high on them. They don't count.
From the bells, 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 bells. From the jingling and the tinkling of the bells.
Okay, here's why jellyfish piss me off. That was a nice song. I like that. Thank you, Jimbits. So, jellyfish go through a whole life cycle, right? And part of their life cycle is that they hit the bottom of the ocean, they turn into this little like plant-like thing, and then 4 jellyfish split off of it, or however many jellyfish split off of it. So, the jellyfish, which is now on the bottom of the ocean, splits into other jellyfish, but it's not the first jellyfish, because the first jellyfish was the plant thingy. Now there's 4 new jellyfish. Technically, immortality, because guess what? Life never stopped. But I feel like to actually have good immortality, you have to have sentience. Somebody has to be smart enough at some point to appreciate what happened. They're genetically all the same. I get it, but no. There wasn't enough there in the first place to count as life. They're pretty much just plants. That makes me mad. So no, I don't like jellyfish. At least lobster have the decency to eventually get so large that they die underneath their weight. I know jellyfish are not plants. I know they are. But they have about the amount of intelligence as a plant, so they might as well be plants. Awful, awful, awful things. A mockery of immortality. A mockery of immortality. Plants are smart. Don't do this to me. Don't do this to me. What do you mean plants are smart? What do you mean plants? Are they empirically smart? Are you going to tell me we can give a test to plants and they can prove in some way that they have any form of intelligence? Depends on what you consider smart. Smart or sentient? Thank you so much for the follow. Greatly appreciated. Well, aspens piss me off too. They're big, they're giant. They're so big, they're the biggest land thingy, but they're so crazy and creepy and weird, and I like them, but also in a way that, no. Plants speak to each other using neural networks. What's the question? What's your favorite tree? Probably the aspen. Not the aspen. Just because it's insane. I also... Responding to stimuli is not enough. Not in my books. I refuse. No. Electronic signals does not intelligence make. Yeah. Oh, am I smart or am I sentient? I am neither. I'm just an online internet boy reacting to stimuli. As soon as stimuli stop, I quit functioning. That's why I stream. It's a way to get more stimuli. So does a dead leaf. A dead leaf also responds to incoming storms by moving from the wind. It's true. It's true. Every once in a while, I just... But then I do things again. If you ever seen a squid, what would you do? Say hi, squid. Look at it. Maybe eat it, depending on if it's been cooked or if it's in the water. I'd eat most things, to be honest, though. I feel like it'd be very easy to poison. I would be so easy to poison. All you'd have to do is go out, grab something and be like, hey, Gene, this is delicious. Eat this. And I'd be like, okay. I would die. Oh, I have had to set a rule. If I ever do in-person meetups, I will not take any food because I will not question it. And I could never believe anybody would have any negative intentions related to food. And we know for a fact that people have been poisoned and have had other horrible things done, or even had gifts with air tags in it to find out where people live. So, what if you came across 1,000 squid at once? Wonder how I got out into the water, honestly. How would I have ended up there? Who is allowing me that deep in the ocean? Actually, though. Yeah. No, like totally. The thing is, I am very trusting. I'm also very revealing. I will share every single bit of my life story. Enough so that it's causing me issue. I briefly mentioned once to somebody that I met a VTuber, or I met a person, and people got upset at me for that because apparently he's not supposed to be contactable. And I'm like, okay, well, before he was a VTuber, he was selling things online. Like you could hire him to set up your sensitivity, and I paid him to set that up. And I'm like, oh, okay. It was nothing. It was nothing at all. But like, what? And I overshare everything. I like oversharing. I like telling people everything about myself because I have stories and life. And if I tell you things, you tell me things, right? Mm-hmm. Yeah, exactly. K-pop idols have had crazy stuff happen to them. I mean, I didn't understand how bad it was with idols, okay? My sister lives in Japan. We've talked about this before. She's lovely. She's amazing. She works at a cafe. And she has a coworker who she dislikes so much. And the reason she dislikes this coworker is because she's obsessed with idols. Not big idols, small idols. Like me-sized idols, basically. Like, imagine me, but like in public and I sing songs and stuff, who have meetups. It feels like such a scam. And she's not obsessed with them like that she like hunts them down or anything. What she does is she goes to every single meet and greet. And she has like 3 or 4 boy groups that she follows. And she'll go to every meet and greet and goes there and pays for the photos and pays for the merch and pays for everything because she thinks they care about her. And she spends so much money on this that she doesn't have any money. And she asks to borrow money from people. And she tries to take more and more and more shifts so that she can afford to go see these idols. And like, they don't stop her, obviously. Thank you for the follow. And so like she's out so much money. And it is kind of sad because like, and here's the thing. You'd think like, oh, get a boyfriend. It doesn't work because there's this connection you make with these people. And people have made the connection with me before. There are people who I've had to ban from stream because they have this connection that does not exist. Of people who have donated like an insane amount of money before where I'm just like, I know what you do for a living. You cannot afford to donate this money to me. And so I'll be like, hey, sorry. No. I'm a guy on the internet. I do entertainment. I like hanging out. I like writing stories. That's what I do. But I will never be a replacement for anything. But I'm cool. Don't get me wrong. I like me. This is early. I'm a random man online. Bye, Maddie. I do care about you, though. But I care about you as much as I can from a distance of me not knowing your life or personal things. 11:19. Good. We have 1 hour left. I'm a man. You are a man. I am. I'm a dude. I'm a guy. Ever since I was one, I am one. And now I am. I'm sorry. Look, if I had a choice, I wouldn't have been. I'm a dog boy. That's also true. That's also true. I weirdly, awkwardly do live like a dog too often. And have too many dog tendencies that me being a dog boy is not a meme anymore. Not like in a furry way. In a very much, I just act like a dog. Oh, you should see my little nest I made that I curl up into. I love it. Mm-hmm. I'm such a good doggy. Eye roll. Wait, can I eye roll? I don't think it tracks my eye rolls. My eyes don't go up, do they? They go like left and right. They don't go up. So I have to go. Ooh. Ooh. Nope, see my eyes closed when I go too high. I can't roll my eyes. No. So sad. At all levels but physical, I am a wolf. Ooh. I saw that, Pink. Ah, my nose. Ah, my nose. Do you make sounds when you get bored? Yes. Okay, so my hair's really long, right? And my hair hit my microphone when I was moving. And so little strands of hair tickled the bottom of my nose. And so I suddenly feel this weird nose feeling, and it just felt so funky. And so I was, felt bad. Ah, hair. Go away, hair. I was just tickly. Thank you for the bits. Thank you. I will use them poorly. Kinda me, huh? How do your toes feel right now? Do your toes feel like they're pressing up against each other too tightly? How's your tongue feel in your mouth? Do you know your tongue is just a little bit too big to fit in your mouth properly? Do you feel how wide your tongue feels right now across your teeth? Thank you so much for the bits, Tasha. Thank you so much for the bits, Buttertop. Woo, thank you. Unpretzelgotomia. But no, I actually got past the whole manual breathing thing. I don't do it. But I also do regular mindfulness exercises. So, chat, here's a mindfulness exercise, okay? You sit down. You put your feet equal distance apart, flat on the floor, straight back, hands on your body. And I want you to think about where your toes are. Imagine your toes. Feel the earth beneath your feet. And feel that go to your toes. On the top of your foot. And bottom of your foot. Move up to your heels. Have it slowly move to your calves. Up both sides. Your knees. Your thighs. Your hips. Stomach. Feel it go further up till it hits your chest, up your back, your shoulders, your arms, all the way down to your fingies, back up from the tips of your fingers to your hands, your forearms, to your shoulders, your neck, your head. There you go. Awareness. And it's good. Every once in a while, when you ever feel like you need to ground or feel yourself and feel where your body is, do that. It's really good. And it helps you like calm down and be a little bit more focused and aware and in the moment. I do it all the time. Well, I don't do it all the time. I need to do it more. It's a little mindfulness meditation. And you can move when you do it. Like Ava, if you want to specifically do it, you can move your toes, move your feet, move your heels, feel where your legs are, move your knees, your thighs, your back. Well, of course, dear. I hope I can be just as entertaining here. You can even shake. It is a good thing to become aware of your body, because you'll be more in the space and you can live in the space that you're in. You can can get blankets. I'll give you blankets. We have blankets. Let me see if I can find the blankets. Oh, nope. Those are the flyer. Those are the balloons. Thank you for the follow. Welcome to the menagerie. Nope, that's cake. That's a... Oh, I found the rock! Haha! Remember when we had the rock? There's the rock. Yes. It's a rock. Oliver, take it easy. Make sure you give yourself time to heal. Hey! Thank you for the follow. Welcome to the menagerie. Y'all, I'm so excited. I'm so excited to get to the point in February where I can finally start talking lore and I can start talking about all sorts of things. Because right now I can't, and it sucks, and I can start progressing on that stuff, and I can do all the in-character stuff, but right now I just have to kind of wait and build up to it. No, it's my rock. You can't have this one, Gem. Don't you try to take my rock. No, I'm putting the rock away. You can't have it. It's mine. Why would you try to take... no! You see this rock? Mine. Rock? Mine. Rock. Mine. My rock. Thank you for the bits. No, stop trying to eat the rock. Oh, do you want to see stickers? Here, we got the stickers. Stickers are here. We have all the stickers. We also have stickers here, but they're behind me here. See, there's nothing there, though. Don't worry about nothing there. There's nothing in there. You don't want to adult today? Then don't. Don't adult today. You do not need to adult. But Chad's not done anything to deserve another sticker. No. No more stickers. Maybe I'll take away a sticker. Have we earned... fine. I'll go see if anybody's filled out the form. I don't think so. I don't think anything has happened. You don't need another sticker yet. Nope, there's nothing there. I can take away stickers all I want. They're my stickers. But yes, February's gonna be amazing. I'm so excited. I can do all the lore stuff. It's gonna be best. I refuse to put it on Twitter. There's 80 entries. I don't need more than 80 entries. I'm gonna have to go through every single one of these at some point. That's so many things. You think I'm gonna have time to go through 80 of them? Here, let's take a look. 87. 87. Nope, you don't get another sticker yet. 87. You can't take back a gift? It's not a gift. It's a reward. And I can take back rewards. Yes. You have some stickers and a pebble? Why'd you throw a brick at me? Don't throw a brick at me. Why'd you do that? Rude. Rude. No, it's only one entry. No, you can steal from big business all you want. There's nothing immoral about stealing from big businesses. Here's where were we? I'm back. Pink, you can do whatever you want. It's not the one I paid for. But yes, I can take away the stickers. That was the point of the stickers. I need to have a way of punishing people, and I need to have a way of rewarding people. Because sometimes people come in here and do things that are definitely not good. And I don't want to just ban people. So you lose stickers. And that way, people keep each other... Put this on the rock. People keep each other in line. If you're like, oh no, you can't do that, we're going to lose stickers, then other people keep track of that. And they will take care of the problems before they are a problem. No, the tiramisu belongs to the rock. You cannot have it. I'm sorry. This tiramisu belongs to the rock. Really, is what we're going to do. You want this voice again? Can I have the rock? No, the rock is mine. The rock belongs to me. How do you... I'm going to label this rock. That way you'll learn this rock belongs to me. All right? You can't have this rock. I was just showing it to you. Just because I show it to you does not mean it belongs to you. All right? Here we go. I'm going to name this Jeans Rock. There. Well, it's upside down now. How did that happen? There it is. Alright, we on the same page? This rock, it belongs to me. You may not have it. It is mine. You may fight me for it, but you will lose. Thank you so much for the headbands. You want the rock even more now? No. No, you know what? I'm going to... No, here's what we're going to do. Let me go to the other scene real quick. I need to grab something here. Where is it? It's somewhere off here. There it is. Alright, we're going to take that. We're going to swap back. There we are. Alright, so here. We'll take this. Yes. Alright, see? Now you can't touch it. The rock is in a cage. With the tiramisu, you may not touch the rock. You understand? This is where it belongs. It'll stay in this cage for as long as I put it there. Well, even if you change your name, you can't get to it because the rock is there. And the cage. The cage will prevent you from getting to the rock. And the tiramisu. You know, I'm going to put more things in the cage, actually. What's this? Am I going to... Thank you for the stretch. Oh, it's a spoon. You can have the spoon. You all like the spoon, right? I mean, look, it has a little shape on it. Is your favorite spoon. You can have the spoon, all right? How's that sound? I'll give you the spoon. Don't eat the spoon. But I'm keeping the rock and the tiramisu. What if I reach my fingers through? Don't you reach the... I'll hit you with the spoon. No. No, no, no spoon for you. You had to review your plan. We're getting you the spoons. You may have... Oh. Well, the tacos are back there. You want the tacos? You can't have them because... Oh, there you go. I'll offer you tacos. How about that? You can't have the rock. You can't have the tiramisu. But you can have the tacos. Is that better? Get like in a normal voice now. Good? Okay. Oh, they're gone. Sorry, somebody got to them first. You want the rock? Why would you want the rock? Look, it's... I've labeled this rock. Jeans Rock. Do you see the rock? You see the rock? It says my name on it. You can't have the rock. No, you... Alright, so fine. Wait, where's the voice? There it is. Nope, it's not the right voice. For me, you lost it. I can't remember how to do Southern now. And there we are. All right, so y'all, why do you want this dumb rock? Look, it's my rock. It's got the name on it. It's everything here. Hey, you can have a German breakfast. How's that sound? Will you eat a German breakfast? Or one of these breakfasts? Oh, it's Italian breakfast. No, I cannot stand an Italian breakfast. No, I hate an Italian breakfast. It's just a freaking pastry. Give you some pancakes. Waffles? Anyone want waffles? No waffles? Fine. You can have burger? How's burger sound? You want... Alright, more burgers. Can I hug the rock? No, the rock's in a cage. You can't hug the rock. It's my rock. Alright, well, what if I get you a different rock, alright? Look, I'm gonna find you a different rock. I'm gonna get you a rock, a different one. Well, if I... Alright, what can you... Tacos now? No, the tacos are gone. I'm sorry. That happened. I don't know what happened to them. They're gone. But, well, I found you a different rock, alright? Here. I'll give you a rock. Alright, this one's a good rock. Let me get this rock real quick. Okay, you can have this rock. It's got a little bit of dirt on it and a little bit of moss, but like, you take this one. Come on, it's a little smaller. It's a little smaller, but you can have this one, all right? Can we name the rock? Actually, I think I like this rock. I think I might be I'm gonna keep this rock actually. No, it's mine now. Yeah, this one got moss on it. I kind of like the moss. Fine, you can have the mossy rock. All right. So I need you. I'm gonna go away for just a second, but I need y'all to watch the rock while I'm gone. Okay? If anything happens to this rock, that's on you. All right? I'll be right back. Just watch the rock. I'll be back soon. Just behave yourselves. I'm gone, all right? So how was it? How'd you chat? What'd you do with the rock? Where'd the rock go? What'd you do with the rock? I give you one job, just to watch the rock. And what happened? A bird? We're inside. How is there gonna be a bird here? How is there gonna be a bird here? Why am I so mean? I left for a little bit. We're inside. There's no way it was a bird in here. You're making up stories now, aren't you? You're gonna kill a bird? Don't kill birds! Really? No, look, the window is... Okay, well, maybe the window might be open. I actually see the shades moving back and forth. But what, you say a bird came in here and picked up an entire rock. That was a big rock. That was a big rock. I don't believe you. So you're just not responsible enough for rock ownership yet. It's okay, it's okay. I know it's hard to admit that you're not ready for rock ownership, but maybe one day... Maybe one day... Well, you see, like, I'm a responsible rock parent. I put my rock in a cage. See? There's a big bird. Really? What? Like a big robin or something? Big little, I don't know what kind of, like, it was like a sparrow or swallow or something. What kind of bird was it, huh? Name the bird. What kind of bird was it? Didn't give you a cage? You didn't ask for a cage. Fine. Look. I'll get you one more rock. One more rock, okay? What this rock's gonna have grass on it, okay? Do you want a rock with grass on it? Would that make you happy? Okay, we'll give you a little rock with grass on it. There. You're not gonna lose this one, right? There. Okay. You should have put the rock in the cage. You want me to put the rock in the cage? Put this rock in a cage. My cage? No, there's no room in my cage. You want me to give you... Fine. I'll get you a cage too, okay? Here. You can have a cage. Here, actually, you know what? I'll do this. I'll do this. There we go. You paid for a cage. There you go. There. That should be safe, right? Okay. Good, good, good. I'm glad. I'm glad. And you have knives. Protect Grassy. I believe in you. I believe in you. You guys got this. I'm not going anywhere yet, so you're fine. You're fine. But you said like it was a bird, right? Why would a bird want a rock? Explain that one to me. Like birds can get all sorts of rocks. Because rock is pretty? Okay, you know what? Valid. Valid. Very valid. Alright, you know what? Okay, I'm just going to leave for a little bit again. But I believe you all. You got this, okay? I'll be right back. I'll be right back. Watch the rocks. Make sure nobody takes them, okay? All right, so what happened? What? Where'd the rock go this time? What, y'all left the rock in a cage. What happened to it? What happened to the rock, huh? Are you gonna blame it on it? Jeremy. He what? The bird had dynamite. The bird had dynamite. That's insane. How would a bird have dynamite? Huh? The bird had TNT. Crazy. I don't believe you. That's an absolute insane story. Jeremy. I smell smoke from the bomb. No, I don't smell any. I mean, it smells a little burnt in here, but like, I was cooking earlier, and you know how I am with pizza. Sometimes I leave them in. Don't cry. Don't cry. Look. I'll find your rock. I'll find your rock for you, okay? I'll find your rock for you. Just behave yourselves, okay? Just look. If it'll make you stop crying, I'll find you your rocks, okay? Go hunt the bird. You want a bird? Okay, I'll get you a bird if that's what you want, okay? I'll get you a bird. I'll be right back. Oh, wait. You weren't lying. Okay, fine. You know what? We got this. I got this. Just gonna throw this at it. It's fine. Haha. Oh, no. It's in front of the cage. Wait. Okay. I think I got it this time. Was that what you're talking about? Was this guy? This guy, you saying blew up a cage. He blew up a whole cage and took your rocks. Oh. Okay. He's throwing things at me. It's fine. It's fine. What's this? Oh, hey! Look what I found. Yep. I'll let you keep this one. And I'm just gonna go get rid of this guy. I'm sure he's fine. We'll just let him out in the wild, okay? We're just gonna let him out. We're gonna let him outside. It'll be fine. But yeah, there's your rock. Don't lose it again. Don't disappoint me. You don't trust it? It's gonna be fine. It's gonna be fine. I'm sure it'll never come back ever again. Oh yeah, here's your rock. And keep good attention on it. You know what? Fine. I'll put it in my cage. I'll put it in my cage because I know nothing bad happens in my cage. Okay? There we go. I'm not burning birds. I'm not burning birds. We'll keep it safe. I'll keep it safe. Okay? It's fine. It's fine. What is this stream? What is this stream? Anyways. Oh no, I'm in a cage! Why am I in a cage? How did this happen? I bet it was Jeremy. I bet it was Jeremy. Chat, I think he might be stealing the rocks while I'm over here. I can't get back. I can't back to the room. I can't go back. Well, guess nobody has rocks now. You can't feel your head. That's fun. So stupid. Anyway, what time is it? We got a half an hour left on stream. I kind of want to play something in the last half an hour. How do y'all feel about it? Let me do some crime scene cleaner. Some Metal Gear. Oh, thank you so much for the redeem. Lamb, Cult of the Lamb? Nah, Cult of the Lamb. We can do Metal Gear or we can do Cult of the Lamb. How are you feeling? I guess Metal Gear kind of takes a lot more focus, doesn't it? There's a lot of stuff. We could do Water Park. I'm not doing Cult of the Lamb. I refuse. Thank you for the biddies. Alright, here, we'll put a vote. We'll do a vote. Well, fine. We'll do a little poll. We have 30 minutes. Yeah, if we're gonna go Cult of the Lamb and I'm barely gonna get through anything, it's fine. No. Alright, we're going to do the poll real quick. That is. Let's see what we get. You can buy VOD Park all you want, but it's still a single-player game. Wow, okay. Okay. Crime scene cleaner it is, jeez. I didn't expect y'all to be so passionate about crime scene cleaner. Well, I suppose that is what it is, but, you know, we'll do it. There we are. Good. We'll keep the jazz going, because I like the jazz. Thank you for the hydrate. Toxic Love. I actually like this one. I love this one. I love this game. You know what we're gonna do though? You're actually gonna hear the volume this time. That's right, lovelies. We're turning up the volume this time. No music. Was that broken before I ran over it, or did I just break it? Did I break it, or was it broken before? It wasn't broken. Okay. Okay.
Not so beautiful aftermath.
It wasn't broken. That's what I get for being careless. Alright, you know what? We're gonna move everything out of the way here. I'm gonna move everything that could be broken
First things first. Gotta scrub
out of the way. Okay, this could be broken. I also hate ads, but hey, I can't do anything about them. Do y'all watch Kenji? Do y'all watch Kenji? I love Kenji. I don't know if I could ever be as silly and goofy as that man. I love his stuff so much. But Kenji does this thing that I think is so funny. So he uses the same thing I do, 7TV, to do emotes. And whenever you say the word ad in his stream, it changes it to "I want to be banned" with a big sticker. I thought it was really funny. Kenji's another VTuber. He's fantastic. He has the most janky model. Which, you know what that tells you? You don't need a super fancy model. In fact, a janky model is great as long as it's, you know, very expressive, or like it moves around and stuff. Like, his model is so cool. If I could make my model turn around, do you know how cool that would be? I wish so much I could make my model turn around. If you could see the back of me, do you know how many stupid things I would do? We'd go on roller coasters. We'd go on roller coasters every day. And I'd put us in like little boats. Gene, why don't you have that? Because it's expensive. Well, and his janky one is so, like, it has so much to it, you know?
I'm in.
Like, he can turn backwards, he can raise his hands, he can do all sorts of stuff, and I think it's just so much cheaper. I love his janky one. It's so smart. It's so clever. Now, that's not saying, like, look, if you're starting out like me, because I'm still a fresh VTuber, I know you're like, oh, Gene, you're doing so amazing. There's so many people who like to watch you. Yes, but also, it's a lot, and I'm still a fresh face here.
He did not mention this.
And so, like, having an expressive model that can actually show my expressions is lovely. It helps out a lot more than you'd ever think. Plus, like, I mean, thank you for the follow. My brain just shut off. It was very cool. Thank you. Thank you. This cost me $30. I spent so much money on it. I spent less than a paycheck. To think my 2D model is going to cost more than one paycheck. My new 2D model is going to cost me more than a whole paycheck. Right. Isn't that insane? Oh, and that is my 2D model. My 3D model will cost me more than a month's salary. Will cost me more than a month's salary. And I'm paid decently well, yo. Like, if I was a normal person, I would work my normal job. I would spend all the hours making the money, having good chunks of money. I am not a normal person. I like this. I like doing this more than anything else. Oh, you know, my model is more than my rent. I pay $1,100 for my rent. But if I was a normal person, what I should do, any smart person would do this: work my job and make money that way, build up savings, build up retirement, eventually retire, go off, maybe move up in my field, get some new certifications, and be done. You know, like, I could make good money. I could be secure. I could be comfortable. No. Ooh. Ah! Thank you for the follow. Welcome to the menagerie. But I don't want that. I want to be happy and comfy, and I want to be cool, and I want to do all the cool VTuber stuff, and I like making content more than anything else. So that's what I'm doing. There it is. Yeah. So there are going to be times I'm going to struggle with money. There's going to be days where I'm going to struggle with money. There's going to be days that I'm going to be in, like, the worst position I've ever been in my entire life. That's okay. I'm happy to be there. Because I like what I'm doing. Makes me happy. Alright, well, that does that. We're going to go get trash. Like, genuinely, streaming and content making satisfy me more than you'll ever know. Like, I love doing all my little stupid shorts. The dumber the short, the better. I love doing all of the little Twitter posts, and I love having to worry about statistics. Ah, it's so nice. Plush. You and your plushies. Yo, I think I found you a dream hoe. Come today, let's make a deal to that.
Jane. All she did was to catch the eye of the wrong man.
Money on chocolate? Nice, nice, nice. And see, like, I don't even really care about, like, if I stream, like, if I'm a famous streamer. I do want to make money at this, don't get me wrong. And I don't need to see the number go up all the time. But it's rewarding. It feels good to do. Plushies. Bigger space for books. Valid, 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 valid. I wish I only cared for money. I wish I cared for money. Because if all I cared about with money, I feel like my life would be a lot easier and a lot more secure and comfortable. I want to make a Gene plush. Gene plush is expensive. I need to make the model first before I can even have a Gene plush. Yeah. Well, I guarantee, like I could have a totally fine, happy life. I could work a job. I could go on vacations. I could hang out with people. I could do really, really cool things all the time. But, like, I don't know. I don't want it. Yes, there's a Voidling plush and a Gene plush. I've looked into getting a Voidling plush made. But it is going to cost me a good chunk of change. Which was why it's going to be a potential thing for, you know, fundraisers. I'll probably do like a Kickstarter for the plush, though.
The girl believed in a true love, ended up in a true crime.
Yeah, and honestly, the plushes are not going to be that expensive. I'm looking at maybe like between, depending on the size, between $30 to $50. And I'll also be doing, you know, like a plush giveaway and stuff. And discounts and all that kind of stuff. Not too bad. Like a fancy plush cost. I am spending a lot of time trying to find a good one. I will be like having to go through places to find nice samples and all that kind of stuff. The problem is, have you ever looked at how much it costs to get a sample of a plush? For me, just to get the sample itself, like each individual unit is not going to be too much. But the sample's $100 minimum. And the sample requires you to like prove that you're gonna buy more. So, yeah. I played God of War. I've played a little bit. Yeah, I want to play the new one. I never got to play that one. That one looks like a lot of fun. On my list of games. You are late to stream. How dare you?
Refreshing the air.
Beautiful place with not so beautiful aftermath.
All right, here we go again. You are late. All right. Anything that's in one piece, we're moving out of the way. That's broken. There we go. Yeah, we're good. We're good. Okay. Don't you photograph me.
Spot didn't work though. Let me guess.
Happy cleaning.
An angry father had a little chat with his daughter's no good boyfriend.
There's that one. Sir, you're supposed to be in the... Sir? Sir. There we go. Thank you for hanging out. Oh, what time is it? Oh, we only have about like 17 minutes. Or, yeah, 17 minutes. Nice. 15? 15 minutes. 16. Y'all, I'm so good at numbers. I'm so good at numbers.
Was this the potential client?
Don't even know.
Holy fuck. He did not mention this. Does he even?
Have I played God of War 2? Maybe. I don't remember anymore. It's been a long time since I played the God of Wars. I didn't play all of them, but I played some of them. Okay, there's nothing else that needs to be broken here, right? Right. Okay, we're good. So now, you purify this area.
Initializing process of purification.
Thank you.
Well to this wretched world.
Take a nap. Take a nap. Take a nap right now. Everybody, I believe in you. Take naps. Good naps. Good naps are best for you. All right. Chair out of the way. You're going in the sink. That way I don't accidentally break you. Stay here and behave yourself. Good boy. Who's a good boy?
Will tear us apart. One family at a time.
All right. Anything else I need to worry about breaking? No. Yes, this will be the only stream today, by the way. Don't forget. I'll be doing some voice acting stuff later today.
A true love ended up in a true crime.
So, yes.
Well.
All right, 1, 7.
Screw this.
It is. Perfect.
I'm in.
I mean, if I do another stream today, it's going to be like really late. Or might be at least an hour late. Give me a second. I need to check on something. I have to make sure I'm doing this right. I talk to too many people, y'all. Yep, okay, I'm good. That's fair. I mean, you have to sleep at the right time. You should only do naps at a maximum of like 45 minutes. Or maybe 30 minutes, depending on. Those will usually work for people. Any longer than that, it can be bad. You're actively putting together a wooden statue? Oh, what overwhelmed you, Asher? I'm sorry to hear you got overwhelmed. Hope you're able to find some relaxing time and chill time. Were you counting 1 to see if I was back in 1 second? Was that what it was? What? Why is your hand numb? What are you doing, Goofy? Goofy. Don't make your hand numb. Silly Billy. Stop it. You just nap for an hour. Was it a good nap? Was it worth it? Was it worth it missing on the street? I'm kidding. Oh, pensioners can also do that. Yeah, be careful. There we are. Name for the head pats. You and your yoinking of head pats. Name for the hydrate. If it is hurting you, you just need to keep stretching it out. Unless you have carpal tunnel. In case you have carpal tunnel, can't really help you there. That's fair. Yeah, sometimes you need meds. Sometimes you need meds to help you sleep, and that's okay.
Cleaning procedure started.
All right. There we go. Let's get the bucket going. I cannot believe I broke that vase, the vase. What the heck? That sponge was instantly dirty. That was crazy. Vase breaker. I'm sorry. Only me. How quickly that cleans up. Oh, I love using that thing. Can you have the plants? You can have the plants. You can have my plants. I have a plant outside that I'm pretty sure is dead. Thank you for the stretch. Oh, I was shrimping. Cut me on shrimp. You'll care for the plant? Please, please do. Something I'm not good with is plants. I used to have to take care of my ex's plants all the time. I did my best. I kept them alive. She can make them thrive. I could keep them alive. There we are. Lovely. We're gonna pull out the light. Oh, well, glad we checked. Anything else? No, looks like we're good here.
Is improving.
And while we're waiting for this... Yeah. How'd your mom overwater a cactus? It's so dumb.
You'd empty the trash can first.
What's cleaner? Shower. Shower's gonna wash off the stuff from you. A tub you will sit in. And a lot of times, if you're sitting in hot water, you steam yourself, which causes you to perspire. A lot of people get in tubs and just sweat the entire time.
Poor Jane.
Work.
All she did was to catch the eye of the wrong man.
I love taking baths. I 100% will shower after a bath. How's game? Game's great. We're just mostly hanging out. How you doing, Danny Cat? Danny Cat, I hope you know I appreciate you.
Procedure finished.
I'm glad you're around. You shower before a bath?
to do here.
That's right, yeah. Baths are more relaxing. Mm-hmm.
Refreshing
There we are.
air.
Whoosh. Nice. There it is. Mm-mm. Me too. That's why I love, like, all this stuff's like really nice. The way it snaps together. That way you know it's in the right place and it doesn't move around a lot. But it will still move if you bump into it too much. Which I think's clever. There's something there. Nice. I accidentally cleaned the cabinet. Oops. Now you can mop it.
Room cleanliness is improving.
Used to be a lush bath bomb person. Do those clean you? Lush bath bombs?
Was ever here.
I feel like those are more of a relaxation kind of thing. I take baths if I'm in a hotel, no baths at my place. I don't know. I don't trust. I know hotels are taken care of well, and I know the people who take care of them try to do their best to clean things. I don't trust any of the hotel stuff. But especially not a bath. Who knows how well it's been cleaned? Yeah. Don't like them. There we are.
Just a little more effort and we will be ready.
There it is. Alright, how are we doing in this room? Looking good. Nice. Got you. So if I make a bath bomb, don't trust me with it. It's a good chance that I didn't make it right. All I did was put baking soda and vinegar in it. That's fine, right? That's good for people.
Room cleanliness is improving.
Let me over. Let me over. Yes.
Air purification complete.
Nice. Anything else that's gonna be hard to reach? That's on the other side, right? Perfect. One of the nicest hotels I was ever in was one I didn't pay for.
I'm ready for more work.
I somehow pushed the bodies in there. I had a hotel room that I went to because my flight got like delayed to the point of it was the last flight and I couldn't leave. So they're just like, okay, we're gonna put you up in this hotel. We'll give you a credit. Which, by the way, the credit they give you for like the hotel's restaurant, the hotel knows why you're staying there. So it's not enough. It's not enough to get anything. Like they're gonna give you like a discount is all they're really giving you. Because I got like a single meal. It was like one of the cheapest meals on the menu, and the meal credit they gave me did not. The meal voucher they gave me did not cover the whole thing. But it had this bed that was so plush. It was incredible. Maybe it was just because I was super tired after a flight, but it was so nice. That if I could stay in that hotel again, even if it was just, you know, because I was late for a flight, I'd be happy. I'd be happy. It was such a nice experience. Oh yeah, no, I'm too tall for most baths, so I feel you on that one. Oh, when was the last time I was to a hotel? Might be similar, honestly. Don't really go to hotels much, though. I've always thought about, like, just, you know, going to a motel, just renting a room for a night, just to not be home. Because sometimes, you know, I just don't want to be home. I'd like to be somewhere else. Just get out. Just take a little distance from my place. Maybe I'll enjoy it more when I come back, you know? It's a tiny little retreat, and like, don't even have to do anything. Don't have to... So tempting, honestly. The more I'm thinking about it, I'm like... just going to go rent the cheapest room I can find. Because, like, I don't live with anybody. I live alone. Hey, Kinsey, thank you for the raid. Welcome, welcome, welcome. How you all doing? Welcome to the menagerie. But yeah, just like going to like a motel, hanging out there for a little while. I'll do the whole raid thing. Give me a second. Give me a second. Hello? Hello, hello. We're in the bedroom today. Welcome, welcome, welcome. See, y'all might think that you're safe, and I know, Kinsey, you've been here before, so you know what I do next. But like, look, it's the bedroom. There's nothing dangerous here. Right? Right? Nope, you're locked here too. You're locked here too. Enjoy being locked here. Enjoy staying. I will never let you out. Thank you for coming by, lovely raiders. But you live here now. So, hello, my name's LuckyJene. I'm a gambler, writer, and a soon-to-be villain. What were you doing? Was stream okay? Did you enjoy it? Hope it went well. Hope it went well. I'll shake the cage a little bit. We'll shake it, not swinging it. We're shaking it. Y'all and your neediness. Here. Buddha, 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 Buddha. Are you happy? There you go. There's also rocks. Don't worry about the rocks. We're keeping the rocks there for important reasons. The raiders are now captives. When they follow, they become voidlings. But how was stream? What were you doing? What were you doing? Don't lick the raiders. Not unless they consent to being licked. Can you bite the raiders? Don't bite the raiders either. They don't want to be bitten. Kinsey. Kinzel. Can they be bitten? Wait. You've got free hotel flight? What do you, what, how are you, what? Why are you still in Canada? It's going pretty good. It's going pretty good. Maybe. Have a wooden shark? Nice. You must bite. I feel that though on a personal level. You can sniff. This game is so much fun. Nice. Fair enough. No, not you, Kinsey. Somebody said that they were that they visited Canada and now they're still there. Yeah, why are you still in Canada, Kinsey? Crazy. I can't believe you live there. Living there. No. You're not the only thing stream's about. What's the question?
Initializing.
Oh, yes. But also no. 50-50. This be my show? It is my show. But what were you doing? What were you streaming? Did you have fun? Have a good one. Have a good one. Also, if you need a raid and run, feel free to do so. I totally understand. Battle Block Theater. Oh, I haven't played that game in a while. There's still people who play that? That's kind of fun. It was definitely, it feels a lot more like what Battlefield used to be. Hello, Hikaru. It's going well. You're the people? That's fair. Maybe I'll play it again. I enjoyed it when I played it last. It's been a long time since I played it. I miss like old school Battlefield. Old school Battlefield was fun. Battlefield 3, Battlefield 4. I really enjoyed those games. That was also when I didn't understand how mouse sensitivity worked. And I thought you wanted the highest sensitivity. And so I'd set my mouse to super high sensitivity. And then I would just barely move my hand. And I got used to playing like that. Every once in a while I'd get accused of being a bot because I'd spin so quickly, but then my aim sucked and they're like, oh, you're not a bot. You're not hacking. You just have super high sensitivity. Why do you have that? I'm like, what do you mean? My mouse goes up to 16,000. Isn't that what you should have it at? Yeah. It was insane. I just didn't understand. I didn't understand what the point of it was. Agaro, thank you so much. I really appreciate it. Now I put it as low as possible, really. Not the lowest, but like in a way that feels comfortable so I can get as close to a 1-to-1 on screen ratio. I do probably need a different monitor though. One day. When you buy your monitor, please pay attention to what kind of syncing it has. Thank you for the stretch. Some monitors use the software of NVIDIA, some monitors use the software of AMD. And you can get better performance out of them if you're using a monitor that is, you know, set up for what you have. Bet you didn't know that. Some people knew that, but some of you did not know that. Get learned, nerds. If you ever need help, by the way, Kadamiya, you said you wanted me to help you set up your microphone. Hit me up. Let's talk about it, okay? Learning against your will? Yeah, no, that's all we do. Okay. Okay. Is this the thing about earlier? I got you. Interesting.
No play. Goddamn.
There we go. I'll take the mic so tips. I mean, it depends on what you have. If you have a USB mic, if you have an external mic, if you have XLR mic, all depends. Kadamiya, don't just get a new one. You don't know what you're getting. What are you getting, Kadamiya? Why are you getting a new mic? What's wrong with your mic? Elgato Wave 3 USB? Should be usually just good to go out of box. I do most of your configuration in OBS instead of anything with the physical. Any sort of USB mics, you're going to do more configuration on software end with like OBS.
Oof. Why are you doing this to me?
Wait. I didn't know I made those noises. But yeah, the Elgato Wave 3 is fine. If you want to go high-end mics, you get yourself an XLR interface. How's it going? It's going well. How are you doing? Then you go through there. Oh, okay. It depends on how much money you want to spend, Kadamiya. You can go all sorts of depths with this. Have fun. Be good, unstable. Enjoy your tattoo. Send pics. I want to see the tattoo when you're done. I like tattoos. I used to be one of those people who's like, don't get tattoos. Now I'm all like, get tattoos. Get as many tattoos as you can. Why not? They're cool. Tattoos are fun. Why was I against tattoos? To me, tattoos could be like go one way or another way. Like they could be bad or good, and like sometimes, you know. And I also cared a lot more about other people's perceptions. I cared a lot about other people's perceptions to the point of like, I feel like a lot of the people I dated at the time was more because I thought other people would think they were attractive and not because I found them attractive. I never really understood what people found attractive in people. Because what I found attractive in people a lot of times was not the physical things, was more of what they did. Or how they acted. And so oftentimes people would be like, oh, that person's super hot. I'm like, are they? Okay, cool. I guess I'll date them.
Interior design is my passion.
Which, you know, isn't really the best way to be. I'm fascinating. Am I? Hello. Yeah. I feel like it's normal. I just date people because other people say they're attractive. And then they would take up a lot of time, and I'd be like, I don't really have time to do the thing I want to do anymore, so I'm going to break up with this person. Hello, Kendra. Thank you for the follow. Welcome. And like that's like when people are like, what is your type? And I'm like, I don't know.
Looks interesting, but I can't work like that.
I did play it a little bit. So is it more of just like a shooter thing right now, or is there more of a story? Because what I was seeing was there was not a story thing yet. It was more of just the shooting aspect, right? Unless I played it wrong. How you doing, Jake? By the way, lovelies, go check out Jake. They're fantastic. They do lots of good audio work. They do good audio, ASMR, audio editing. It's a fantastic person. Love them.
Why are you doing this to me?
Lurk, you hate Navalogs? Or Navalogs?
Cleaning procedure started.
Sweetie, so much to learn about relationships. What do you mean? Hello, Starlight Bell. Welcome. What do you mean I have so much to learn about relationships? Well, just because I kind of pick people because, I don't know, they're cool and I like them and I feel like, I don't know, I enjoy the time I spend with them. Oh, gotcha. It was a lot of fun. I'll have to play it more and check it out more, because at the time I was trying to figure it out on stream. Best way to decide on a tattoo is if you can picture yourself with it. I mean, honestly, the best way to decide on a tattoo is, hey, does this look cool? Cool. Because your skin is not going to look good when it's wrinkly, no matter what. But is it going to look cool with random colors and splotches on it? Probably. I like having stories. Tattoos are fun. You'll also have a lot to learn? That's fair. Definitely. Just get them. What's holding you back? I think genuinely one of the things is if you think about yourself when you're older with a tattoo, most people can't imagine themselves older. Definitely get yourself a lunch. No. Sometimes a tattoo, all it means is that I had the money to buy a tattoo. Specifically my current tattoo. I thought it looked cool. I thought the artist had cool stuff, and I was like, yeah, I have the money for the tattoo, let me get the tattoo. And now I have it. And I do not regret it. But there's always a little bit of tattoo regret when you first get one.
Cleaning is my passion.
Like, once you first get one, there's that first bit of, like, in the brain where you're just like, I don't know, is this good? Is this what I wanted? Is this what I need? Did I really want this? This is a lot of money to spend. Should I have gotten it? But then eventually you're just like, yeah, cool. Same with piercings, though. Same with anything. Anything permanent. Like, I bought a car, and I was like, dude, I really want a car. I could have bought something cheaper. And I'm like, no, I'm happy, and I still have the car. Is it the prettiest thing? No. Is it in the best shape? Most definitely not. Can I do this? I can't. Okay, I'll make sure to throw that out later. Oh yeah, don't let your tattoo artist. Oh, do not let your tattoo artist ever tell you something because like, I think this would look better. No. I have not seen a single experience where some tattoo artist was able to explain to somebody why they should get something different and then be happy about it. I keep mildly crashing what? Academy, what do I mildly crash? Oh, yeah, I do keep mildly crashing it. I had an ex. She has all black and white. She likes all of her black and white. She likes her like shades, but she does not want any color. Well, a tattoo artist wanted to do color, so it convinced her it'd be better with color. She now is getting that tattoo removed
Standby mode activated.
because she feels it doesn't fit her thing, and it's taken her so long to have it removed. And she had another one that they convinced her to get color. She's like, it's gonna be like, and she's just too nice. I'm like, look, this is on your body. I don't care what the tattoo artist wants to do. I don't care if the tattoo artist thinks it's gonna look better. Tattoo artists should be more concerned about you, keeping it, not something for their portfolio. I feel like too many tattoo artists are artists before they are tattooers. If you know what I mean. That's what it is. Yeah. But that's the thing a lot of times also, is like the one that she was going to was a, that was rough. It was a girlfriend of her friend that she went to. And so she was like, that person was like studying tattooing. And so she was like, oh, it's a cheap tattoo. It's almost free, blah, 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 blah. She's like, okay, well, I want to do this thing. And so she was like, okay, fine, since it's so cheap. And now she's having to spend a lot more getting removed. It's like, well, yeah. It's because you did them a favor. Doesn't mean, you shouldn't be getting what you wanted. Oh, yeah, no, I've seen, the amount of so my ex, she had so many blown out pieces from male tattoo artists, and not a single blown out one from female, from a woman, a lady. Whether and what I'm saying is, I mean, I'm not saying like sex. I'm talking about like gender. Like there's been trans lady artists. It's the same thing. I don't know what it is. Anybody who's male identifying, he's more of a dick about the tattoos. No, the only tattoo I have is a man who's falling to pieces reading a book. It is done in a unique style that not a lot of people have. It's very flat and bright red. It took me. I got it in one session. I should not have gotten it in one session, but I only had the option to do it in one session. So, yep. It was like 9 hours of laying down, being stabbed over and over and over again to get good color, depth. And it is cool. And it was based on another piece he had done. He did a piece for another person that was the same thing, but holding a match, the match falling. And I'm like, well, book is more my thing, so book. Had I not die? Oh, I was in immense pain. Yeah, it was awful. There was no numbing cream or anything. I did die. I'm not here now. Would I do it again? Oh, yeah. Probably go back to the same guy, because it's such a unique style. I'm just going to be hard to find things matching. But I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to get a bunch of tattoos. Oh, it's on my upper arm. I'm going to get a bunch of tattoos. And then I'm going to get a, what's the thing called a blowover? Where you tattoo over tattoos. So that will pull the image together. It'll be like a dark swirl that goes over them up. And that way I can get patchwork, but still have a unifying design. Oh yeah, I traveled across. I was in London specifically because me and my ex were getting tattoos. They were getting this really cool like eyes on their arm. And I mean, we wanted to go on vacation anyways, so like we weren't only in London for the tattoos. But she was going specifically for this one tattoo artist that she was able to like. she jokingly messaged him, not jokingly, but like very like they're never gonna respond. Let me see if I can book them. And she booked him. And it's like, hey, do you want to go to London so I can get this tattoo? I'm like, okay. and we were looking at like other tattoo artists that were going to be there, and I saw this one guy's design. I'm like, oh, really? He's going to be there when we're there? Because he's a traveling tattoo artist. And so, yeah, I ended up getting my first tattoo. Which technically I didn't pay for. Which is good, because it was expensive. But my ex was a lot better at saving money than I was. Yeah, no, the piece was like $2,000. Which means my skin costs more now. And less at the same time. Cyber Sigil is cool. All tattoos are cool. I even like the, oh, what are they called? There's the style that is intentionally supposed to look bad. I can't remember what it's called, but I like it.
I'm ready for more work.
I don't know if y'all know what I'm talking about. But it basically looks like a kid doodled it. Where does this go, do you think? I'm trying to play, oh, there we go. I'm trying to do this without like looking at the pieces too much and figuring out where they go. Like, 'cause I know I have the vision to do it. There we go. Oh, I got everything.
I can remove up to 99% of harmful particles from
So I just need to get rid of the one trash bag. Did I nail it? I think there's only the one secret, technically. So this should be everything. I did. I played all the Sly Coopers. I've beaten all the Sly Coopers. They were fun. I think I might have nailed it. No way. Let's find out. Nailed it. Perfect. Yes! Woo! Perfect. Okay. It is time for me to end stream, lovelies. It has come to an end. We're gonna do the skill tree here real quick. I do want to get the microfiber enhanced, so let's do. No, I need to do the strength. We'll get a scrub daddy. Oh, I can't afford the scrub daddy. Oh, that's fine. All right. Did y'all have fun? Did y'all have fun? Good stream, good stream. Hope y'all had a lovely, lovely time. Oh no, I'm in a cage again. That bird. That silly, silly bird. I can't believe y'all let your rock get stolen like that by a bird of all things. You did nothing to try to stop it. The bird had dynamite? Uh-huh. I'm sure it did. I'm sure it did. Okay, let's see who we have. Oh, there's not a lot of people on right now. Not a lot of my people, at least. Who's this? I guess we're gonna raid into, we haven't raided into sheep for a while. You wanna say hi to sheep? Y'all say hi to sheep for me, okay? Of course, I had a lovely time with all of you. You all been amazing. Sorry for the weird stream schedule today, but I really do appreciate all of you being here. It was genuinely lovely. Go say hi to the capitalistic sheep, and we'll be back tomorrow. Maybe I might do a super late stream. I doubt it, but we might be back to. I'll probably be back tomorrow. All right, let's get that raid message going. There it is. Copy that raid message. Thank you all for being so amazing. Mwah, 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 mwah. Yep, we've been streaming for 2.5 hours. I will see you all next time. Bye, lovelies. Bye-bye.